The Rape of the Sabine Women by the Flemish artist Jean de Boulogne, who spent nearly all his creative life in Italy and became known by his Italianized name of Giambologna. This great marble group, carved from a single block of marble, hard to believe but true, has been in the Loggia dei Lanzi since 1583, and it's generally regarded as Giambologna's masterpiece. An extraordinary virtuoso display of skill, a sculpture that works from no matter which angle you view it. It's monumental, but it has the unity, the density, the complexity, the subtlety, the directness of a piece of sculpture for a tabletop that you could turn in your hand. It's an extraordinary feat of carving. No wonder Giambologna became known as the connoisseur's sculptor, the sculptor whose work had to be owned by anyone who truly loved this art in three dimensions. What's the story? The rape of the Sabine women, more correctly the abduction of the Sabine women, goes back to a legend concerning the very, very earliest days of Rome. Rome had been founded by Romulus and Remus, but it was a city entirely inhabited by men. They needed women, they needed to breed, they needed to create children to make generation after generation of Romans and establish their city as one of the great centres of the world. So they negotiated with a neighbouring tribe, the Sabines, and pleaded with them to send some of their women in exchange for money and military favours, to send some of their women to marry the Romans and give them children. But the Sabines, who were worried that Rome might indeed develop into a great rival to their own civilization, they refused. So what did the Romans do? Well, they sulked for a little bit, and then they thought up a cunning Roman plan. They staged a great festival in honour of the god Neptune. And to that festival, they invited all the people of the surrounding regions. And they all came, including many of the Sabines and their women. And at a given signal, this is the scene depicted in the sculpture, the Romans grabbed all of the Sabine women, took them away from the Sabine men, and kept them for the purposes of breeding. What did this mean, this scene, to 16th century Florentine? Well, you have to bear in mind that all the sculptures in the Loggia dei Lanzi were chosen and placed here because they had a very particular civic meaning. They were, if you like, propaganda placed in front of the people. And Chancellor after Chancellor of Florence and Grand Duke after Grand Duke of Florence stressed the importance of bringing new children into the world. So perhaps that was part of the message of this very sensual sculpture. Bring new children into the world, make more Florentines, have them baptised in the baptistry, which is, after all, only a kilometre or so from where this sculpture stands. But I think it's also a triumphalist sculpture, because the history of Florence from the 15th century into the 16th century and shortly thereafter was a continual history of conquest and semi-imperial expansion. Florence had been one of several powerful cities in Tuscany, but by 1585, when this sculpture was in front of the gaze of the Florentine people, Florence had become top dog. Florence had conquered Pisa. Florence had conquered Siena. Florence had conquered Volterra. You can see depictions of the great battles in which those cities were conquered in the town hall, which is just behind this sculpture, all painted by Giorgio Vasari, the art historian, who was also a painter. And I think this sculpture is a celebration, a muscle-bound celebration of Florence's might, Florence's power It's perhaps Florence's way not only of saying, yes, we are the greatest, but saying to anyone from Pisa or Siena or Volterra who comes to Florence, saying, yes, we're here, we're here. We've stolen your women and we'll drink your beer.